Almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet.
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
And getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Shopping with TDC just got much easier. Here's how. Log on to shoptdcgroup.com. Shop at your convenience at any time, from anywhere, with your smartphone, tablet, or computer. With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love. Now online. Shop www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning and welcome to Voices on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of Voices, right here on 98.9. It is just 6 minutes past the hour of 11, and thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you can also join us on our social media platforms, which are Facebook and YouTube, and you can just type in WINNMedia SKN and you can listen there. You can also interact with us there as well, as we will be monitoring very closely. Remember, our WhatsApp number is 662-2204. That's 662-2204. Send your questions, your comments, and you can also participate via that medium. Thank you so much for tuning in to Voices for today, Wednesday, February 9, 2022, and I trust that you have been having a very good and productive week. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 762-0989. You can also, if you are in the diaspora in UK, you can call us at 033-344-0065. If you are residing in the United States of America, call us at 718-285-6984. And if you are in Canada, call us at 305-921-4619. Those are the numbers to participate in today's edition of Voices. And thank you so much for joining me for today. So, welcome to Voices here on WinFM 98.9 for Wednesday, the 9th day of February 2022. And I'm your host for today. I trust that you've been having a very good week. It is the middle of the week. Most of you are perhaps at work, or you're on your way to work, you're coming from work, or you're just, in your living room, in your backyard, on your porch, you're sitting down, you're minding your own business, you're living life, you're giving thanks for life. But thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of Voices. And I want to have an open discussion with you. But just to raise the topic of the tomorrow, the Prime Minister will be hosting his monthly press conference. The Prime Minister will be hosting, his monthly press conference tomorrow, Thursday. That's the 10th at 10 a.m. And what I intend to do, I want to hear from you. What are some of the updates that you think are necessary that should come out of this press conference? And what are some of the areas that you think will be focused on at this press conference? Essentially, what are you expecting? One would say, well, it hasn't happened yet and we should wait until it happens, which, yes, I understand that because that is what most people would do. But just like a budget presentation, while they may not say what they're going to say, there are things that you can hope for. There are things that you can look to. There are updates that you hope will be provided at this monthly press conference. The press conference is tomorrow at 10, tomorrow, Thursday, at 10 at the NEMA. Of course, you'll be live right here on WinFM 98.9 and other participating radio stations. But yeah, I want to get from you, what are you anticipating coming out of, what do you anticipate will come out of tomorrow's press conference? As over the past few weeks, for the month of January, there has been a number of issues, a number of developments in St. Kitts and Nevis, and at the monthly press conference for the Prime Minister, I would assume that some of these issues and some of these developments would be addressed, whether it be by the Prime Minister or the relevant minister or whoever the topic falls under. But usually out of the press conference is one that you look to hear updates on things happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course an opportunity for us in the press to ask questions and to get a better understanding of what is happening in our country. But I want to hear from you. What are you anticipating out of tomorrow's press conference? What do you hope to hear on? I know some of you perhaps may have your own questions, things that you want to hear an update on, and you just genuinely you want more information on it. Well, I encourage you to tune into WinFM 98.9 tomorrow at 10 for the Prime Minister's press conference. The phone lines are open and we want to hear from you, so call us at 466-0989, 762-0989 and 662 just the 762 and the 466. Remember, we have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. That is 662-2204. Call us and be part of the discussion for today. The phone lines are open. It is 11 minutes past the hour, and we are here on Voices on WinFM 98.9. So yes, as I mentioned, people are looking for updates. I think we have our first call for this morning, so we're going to head to the phone lines and we're going to take this call. Let's take this first call for the morning. Caller, good morning. You are on Voices.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Cornelius.
Good morning.
Yes, two things I'm hoping that the Prime Minister will address in his monthly press conference tomorrow. What is there any investigation or any kind of censure to be directed toward Minister Grant for his behavior early on in the year? Because we have to be honest, a government cannot call itself a law and order government when they have their ministers behaving in such an untoward way towards law enforcement, because we in the general public, We cannot do that. And that really makes, takes a lot away from the police force when it comes to respect given to them by the general public, because, I mean, if somebody commits a legitimate crime, well, no problem, but then the question is going to be asked, how come we have this two-tier system? Why the general public has to apply or follow the rules, and those considered elite or in the upper echelon can follow the rules and do as they like. Also, I would like to know if the Prime Minister is going to address, after the comments made by Dr. Wilkinson in the concerning COVID-19, and that vaccinating our way out of COVID-19 is a fantasy, which me and others have been saying for months, but apparently Dr. Wilkinson just wake up out of a coma. When you said it was called misinformation. I guess after the CDC, which has nothing to do with us here in the Federation, says whatever, that's when our leaders, our professionals are going to react. And that's sad, because I think we have enough educated people here to make certain decisions without following the lead of the CDC, who is heavily influenced by the same pharmaceutical companies as the FDA, but it's neither here nor there. I would like to know if people are still going to be required to be vaccinated to do a job or be gainfully employed in the face of Omicron, and what the CDC, the same CDC is now saying about natural immunity. People who have had the virus and recovered naturally are to be given the same privilege as quote-unquote vaccinated people. I don't use the term unvaccinated because they had a body in saying it's unvaccinated. Once you go to primary school, your mother carried to the clinic as a baby, every man jack here, vaccinated. The Rasta man with the longest lock to find right now, when he was a child, he was vaccinated.
Right. So, not to cut you off, but when we say vaccination, we're talking specifically about COVID-19 vaccination. So
does that negate the other vaccines?
Yes, it does.
People had before?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, it does.
Explain it to me in the face of Omicron and what's coming up from the CDC.
I think that is very. I'm not a medical expert, but that
we're talking about
that is very.
What comes from the CDC?
I think we're on two different pages. You're saying that nobody's vaccinated, but let us be clear when we're saying this. We're talking about COVID-19. We're not talking about any other disease or the vaccines that we received when we were in primary school or preschool. We're specifically talking about COVID-19. So this COVID-19 vaccine that is being administered now is not related or has nothing to do with the vaccines that we received when we were in primary school. Those vaccines are not the vaccines for COVID-19. So the vaccination that we're talking about right now is specifically for COVID-19. So to say that everybody is vaccinated, yes, in the sense that most of us received vaccination before entering primary school and or high school, but right now we are talking about the COVID-19 vaccine.
So it's just an argument of semantics then.
It's a matter of clarity. Just making sure that we're on the same page and understanding. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we can agree to disagree because I don't think one person skipping out a vaccination card. I've never had a tetanus injection. I've never had what they call it, a hepatitis C vaccine. I've never had a flu vaccine, so that makes me unvaccinated.
Have you ever had a vaccine?
In primary school, yes. As a baby, yes. I had to have them. I ain't had no choice. I was a child.
Yeah, but the vaccine that, if you had a vaccine, right, that vaccine is for that disease or whatever the situation was.
Exactly.
So you and I are very well aware that there is no general vaccination. That once you take a vaccine, you are fully vaccinated. So let's not go the back and forth. You understand the situation, and I think I understand the situation. We're talking about specific diseases.
A sterilizing vaccine and the COVID vaccine. So that's a different argument altogether. But still, as I say, in my opinion, that statement about being unvaccinated is very, very disingenuous.
No, it's not. It's not.
Well, as I said,
it is not.
Entitled to their own opinion.
No, I think
what is the medical?
Without any disrespect, caller,
backing to make that statement.
Without any disrespect, I think you're trying to be smart. Yeah.
No, man, trying to be smart.
Yes, I believe so. I honestly believe so. The statement is not. The statement is not disingenuous. If the CMO, Dr. Wilkinson or whoever comes and say that they are unvaccinated people, they're talking about COVID-19. That's what they're talking about. You would realize that every time we talk about vaccination, every time we talk about vaccination, they're very specific. They say COVID-19. In the media, when we talk about vaccination, we talk about COVID-19. So the back and forth it's unnecessary, and the state it is. No, I'm gonna have
that it the meaning COVID-19.
But we know it's COVID-19. We know it's COVID. I think you know it's COVID-19. The mean, don't you know it's COVID-19? The mean,
qualifier every time they say unvaccinated, say we're unvaccinated with the vaccine for COVID-19.
I don't think that is. I don't think that is necessary. I don't think that is necessary.
Well, you don't think so, but if you want to, as you say, you're trying to get clarity, let's be clear.
So you want clarity as to whether they're talking about COVID-19 vaccine versus a regular vaccine in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes. Because we're making a big hoopla about the COVID deaths, but now we have 73 active HIV cases here in the Federation, and nobody's really talking about it. I think that should be something important too, something that we should focus on.
What do you think can be done?
Well, maybe we should mandate condoms. What about that?
How do you know if somebody used condoms?
You see, we could make people take the COVID-19 vaccine.
You can't mandate condoms.
To mandate that our barrier devices ever.
That make the sense, Carl. I'll be real with you.
Right, that's the same argument I have about
there's no relation.
There's a
the health promotion unit in St. Kitts.
Using a condom is a personal choice. Taking the vaccine is a personal choice.
But how you know? So how you know they use the condom? Because
how you know somebody took the vaccine?
Because you dig them in the hand with the vaccine. It's right there.
But if you never saw them take the vaccine or you know the vaccinated.
Oh Lord. Okay. Okay,
Carl. The boomerang effect is
okay. You know? Well, we want to take some more calls. You can call back in later. But thank you so much, Carla, for your. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on WINNMedia 98.9. Stick and stay. We will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet.
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
And getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small. Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Pump it up with Quicks. One pump and you're pumping. Dish is done, you're smiling. Pump it up with Quicks. Keep pumping. Pump it up some more. Pump it up. Grease is gone for sure. Pump it up. All your dishes fixed. Pump it up. Pump it up with Quicks. I don't want a dirty sink. Keep pumping up with Quicks now. Clean that sink. Pump it up some more. Pump it up. Grease is gone for sure. Pump it up. All your dishes fixed. Pump it up. Pump it up with Quicks. Pump it up.
Welcome back to Voices here on WinFM 98.9. We're heading back to the phone lines. We have some callers. Good morning, caller. Sorry, you're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Camille.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm okay. You asked, what do we expect from tomorrow's press conference?
Yes.
Well, the answer is easy. More of the same. It's going to be just like the other press conferences. I anticipate that it will be no different from the previous ones, where the Prime Minister will spend much of it campaigning and denigrating his predecessors in office and lauding the achievements of his administration, or lack of. Well, you're not going to laud lack of, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. You know, and blaming his predecessors and COVID for what he should be taking responsibility for in 2022, right? He'll probably bring an entourage, ambassadors and so on, to support him. It would be interesting to see which cabinet members attend this time, okay? But I think he will still trot out the usual hapless senior civil servants, who he will redirect the hard questions to, if there are any. For in my opinion, we have a very docile and compliant press corps here in the Federation. I think they're pretty timid in the face of, we know why, in the face of naked victimization and the abuse of state power and influence and resources. You know, that's what they're facing. That's a tough environment for journalists to be working in. All right? I think the Prime Minister will probably hedge and fudge with questions that can just take a sentence to answer. You know, he's going to go all the way to Timbuktu and come back. And, before he gives any straight answers. I don't expect straight answers. I don't think he will allow follow-up questions as journalists try to bring him back on topic or seek some kind of clarification. He'll probably shut that down. So, in a nutshell, we expect more of the same. That being said, yesterday in a talk show, a journalist asked essentially the same question in a different way. What would we wish asked at the press conference? And I obliged, and I suggested a number of questions, which I'll repeat here. You plan to attend the conference, by the way?
Yes, I'll be there.
So you have your questions already framed?
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Okay, great. All right. You're one of the ones who I think are more brave. But we'll see how that works out today. But the questions I had in mind, right? The first one, why do investigations seem to take forever and the public never gets the results of these investigations? Right? And you can name a number of them: the herpes trials, stem cells, the RLB airport security breach, the electoral office investigations, Verdi matters, and more recently the grant issue. Okay? And of course, there's this hot thing down at Port Zante. Okay? We hear of investigations starting, they never ever end. And that's one of the drawbacks, I think, of the press corps here. They don't follow up and be persistent and make sure, even if they make them come out and say, it's still under investigation, it's still under investigation. Well, at some point, that's going to ring hollow, okay? And they're going to look stupid. The second question, why has the good governance agenda not been prioritized to ensure accountability, transparency, and openness in government? Okay? And we all know what that involves, operationalizing integrity in public life, freedom of information, a more vibrant public accounts committee, those kinds of things. Freeing up the media, access to the public broadcasting system. Those kinds of things which they themselves promised and have not delivered after nearly 7 years in office. That's unacceptable, okay? And I would expect the press to be asking the Prime Minister about these things. And then the next one would be, why since 2015 we have not done anything about things like electoral reform, including, of course, the overseas vote, campaign financing, okay? Those were pivotal back then, all right? What has become of them? The boundaries changes. Even as far back as 2015, it was recognized even by the courts in England that the boundaries needed changing. Why haven't it been done? Okay? And you have to ask yourself, when things like this happen, when, for instance, integrity legislation and so on is not deemed as important, we should ask why. Why do we think these people in power who can do it at the stroke of a pen refuse to do it? And the answer is obvious, of course. Okay? It's there. It serves their purposes to keep this thing to be not under the scrutiny of these things. All right? And the other question would be, why has there been no constitutional reform to deal with, for instance, in Nevis, the revenue sharing between Nevis and St. Kitts? Okay? That continues to bedevil us. Right? And why aren't we adopting the CCJ? Why don't they show leadership and adopt the CCJ as the final court of appeal? All right? Why aren't we looking forward to becoming a republic? These kinds of constitutional things, I think, just the can is just being kicked down the road. Okay? And and don't tell me that they're distracted by something like COVID. Right? They're supposed to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. There are how many of them in there? They can divide. It's just a case of division of labor, shall we say? Huh? There's no reason why these things are not being done. Mm-hmm. Right? And there was one other question that came up yesterday. I raised it as a separate issue, but it would probably be a good thing to ask, bearing in mind the hoopla that the government made about distributing some homes a few days ago, right? Can we honestly say that these houses were delivered to the lucky homeowners in a fair manner, devoid of any political interference? In other words, were only the technocrats involved in making sure that the homeowners met the criteria for this home ownership? Because, you see, I think there were, 20 or 20-something new homeowners, you can bet your life
Yes, 20.
there were scores of other applicants who were unsuccessful. Okay? And I would like to know if any one of those applications that were unsuccessful can go down to the National Housing Corporation tomorrow and be told exactly why they were not successful. Okay? In other words, I suspect, like most people, that some kind of politics came into it, okay? That the award was based on politics. I saw something on Facebook saying something about some big Labour supporter getting houses as well. There could be politics behind that, where tokenism is involved. Okay, so you give one to a Labour supporter to be able to say, well, see, look, a Labour supporter got a house, but 15 others might have been selected based on their party affiliation. You know, things like these. And we all know that should not be. And don't come and tell me that that's how it has been in the past either. Because you said you were going to change these things. Okay? So those are the kinds of questions I would like asked tomorrow. But as I said, I expect that you won't get straight answers. There'll be a lot of hedging and fudging and beating around the bush and drawing out the thing in some long harangue political speech, okay? And we'll be none the wiser. Okay, then.
Mm-hmm. All right, then, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It is 11:30, and we're still taking your calls here on WINNFM 98.9. But before we do that, we'll take a short ad break, and when we come back, we'll continue the program here, right here on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Stick and stay. We will be right back.
Found the sound 98.9 WINNFM.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drugstore's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your request. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
Decided what to eat yet, hun?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet.
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
And getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and we're going to head right back to the phone lines. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on Voices.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Cornelius.
Good morning.
if 19 of those houses were given out to quote-unquote labor supporters, somebody would still find an excuse and say they do that because they want to get support from labor people. I mean, how the saying got damned if you do, damned if you don't. Ain't everything politics got to be involved in, you know. Some of us got to really, when we make talking, we got to inject politics in everything. I had that same debate with somebody the other day. That's why a lot of younger people are not really interested in local history here, because according to who telling the story, it got a political twist to it. We can't say the criteria for the home as back under the Douglas government is who could afford to pay for the home. If I'm not mistaken, that's supposed to be the criteria. I'm not saying a little politics is not injected, but at the end of the day, all of those homes ain't going to people, hard-working people, for them to build a future for their family. It doesn't matter if they family labor, PCM, whoever. As far as I could remember, you want is a national federation, you are entitled to these things. I mean, sometimes we need to just put politics aside with certain things and just focus on that people are getting a leg up. I criticize the unity government a lot. But when they do good, I'm going to say they do good. And that was a good thing. You want to sprinkle politics on it? Be my guess, that's your right. But then you can't say in one breath, don't go back and talk about it happening in the past. Because yes, it did happen in the past. And a lot of people who are talking right now didn't have a problem with it. They never spoke out about it. You understand? So sometimes that's where the credibility does get challenged, and because I could remember I had certain people, Labour was in power, they spoke out, Unity in power, and they spoke out, and some of them have been vilified and whatever for whatever reason, like Joy Astafan and Terry Adams and others, and Mr. Jupan. And because of calling out things, they are vilified and ostracized. So, I mean, sometimes we could give Jackie jacket in, like, they take up the house and give it to 20 people from Afghanistan. They give it to local people who here, people who be living here and have earned the right to get a piece of the rock. So, I mean, sometimes we could criticize, but then we tend to go too far and just inject politics for no good reason. And one other question I would like to be asked in the press conference is the issue with utility workers. When will the Labour Department get involved and hash out exactly what the demands of these individuals are? Because I'm not gonna be upset with them if all of them get legal counsel and get some legal representation and do a class action lawsuit, because this is unconscionable. I mean, these people owe whatever money, give them the money that their families to take care of. And because of this no job policy, a lot of them cannot be employed again. And they are criminals. Right. They went up on the job site and fight with the boss or teeth, nothing.
Right. Well, caller, thank you so much.
Okay.
I want to take some more calls. Thank you so much for your contribution to this program. You're listening to Voices on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Today is Wednesday, February 9, 2022. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, just to give you a bit of a recap as to some of the contributions made by the callers, for those of you who are tuning in late, what we're doing right now, we're trying to get from our listeners what they expect out of the Prime Minister's press conference, which will be held tomorrow morning at 10. Persons are looking for updates on some of the investigations that have been going on for some time. We have the investigation into the issue involving Minister Lindsey Grant and members of the police force. A caller wants the Prime Minister to address comments made by Dr. Wilkinson regarding vaccination and herd immunity. One caller said that they expect nothing new coming out of the press conference. They say that there will be nothing interesting. There will be nothing, the same old. And they hope that straightforward answers would be given. Investigations into a number of issues surrounding a security breach at the RLB International Airport some time ago. Some issue going on at Port Zante, I believe, involving the construction of a hut for what people say is a very huge number. In other words, the hut is small, but the cost to construct the hut is very, very large. Questions about the good governance agenda, whether it would be operationalized, vibrant public accounts committee, 2015 election, and coming out of that, electoral reform campaign, finance and boundaries. Caller just a while ago, the previous caller, sorry, raised questions about the houses that were distributed and if they followed along the lines of following the proper criteria for the distribution of the homes. One caller congratulated the government on this initiative, as housing is a need at this point in time, and so they congratulated the government, and they say that they wish that politics should not be a part of the distribution of that. We're heading back to the phone lines there. We're taking some more calls. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Long time I haven't heard you. This is Carlton Controversial DuPont.
Good morning, Mr. DuPont. How are you doing?
I want to congratulate the government for doing an important thing that they're supposed to do in building houses for the people. I don't know where these houses were built and given out.
They were built...
I want you to know.
Sorry, go ahead.
My disappointment with the government is they are not passing the legislation that we said that Dr. Douglas should have passed to make a total difference. That is my piece for the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We are still taking calls here, right here on WINNFM 98.9. It is 11:45, and the phone lines are open. Now, just for me, I gave you, a recap of some of what we discussed this morning, but we're heading back to the phone lines. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on Voices. I'm good, thanks. What about you?
I'm giving God thanks. I want to commend the government on giving all those houses to the individual. What I like about them, the bottom part, the bottom section, is for the elderly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that as well.
The previous houses and so on that the previous houses and so on that they built, there wasn't it wasn't equipped for the elderly. Mm-hmm. So these houses here, the elderly have a chance to go to their own bathroom.
Yes.
Kudos again to the government. Bye.
Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls right here on WINNFM 98.9. The phone lines are open, and we're taking your calls. For those of you who are tuned in late, I gave you just a recap of what we discussed or what some of the callers shared right here on Voices for today. I mean, that's the name of the program, Voices. Voice your opinion and voice your concern. We want to hear from you. Call us at 466-0989 and 762-0989. Remember, we are also live on Facebook at WINNMedia SKN. So to all of you who are tuned in via Facebook, thank you so much for your contribution and participation. We are also live on YouTube and Twitter, and we also have some viewers there as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for your contribution to this program. You're listening to WINNFM 98.9, and I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius. We have a few minutes left before we take a break for the headline news and come back, but we want to hear from you what you expect out of the Prime Minister's press conference, which will be held tomorrow at 10. A number of callers have shared their view of what they expect will come out of the press conference, but we want to hear from you. there's a comment on the Facebook live stream that wants to know about the workers. It says workers at TDC, and so the issue surrounding the workers at TDC, which another caller raised that as well. But we are taking your calls. We want to hear from you. If we have no calls at this time, we'll take an ad break, and when we come back, we will begin wrapping up the first hour of this program. We'll go for the headline news and we come back after. Well, let's take this ad break and we will be right back. Stick and stay.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Buster, roll it up, meet the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster for the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that we like. Buster, you're full of vibes, living for the color. And I'm black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster for the colors in my life.
Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet.
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
And getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Hello?
Gurjeen?
What's up, girl? Talk to me.
You know I'm working hard on being even more active, right? So we're going to the TDC Home and Building Depot to get a blender, weights, a yoga mat, and a bike for Clive too.
You serious? Something keep in there?
Yes, girl, all month long. Shop in store, get 20% in savings on health and wellness products like blenders, juicers, air fryers, waist trainers, and more.
Girl, Betty, you're joking.
I don't have time for jokes. Get yourself sorted because in February we're staying active with TDC HBD.
Yes,
girl. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
And we're back with Voices right here on Win FM 98.9. Thank you so much for sticking and staying. We have just 10 minutes left before we take a break for the headline news. But thank you so much for your participation in today's program. This is Voices on Win FM 98.9. The phone lines are open and we are taking your calls at 466-0989 and 762-0989. Remember, we have the WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. Send your questions and your comments via that number. What callers were basically doing, they were sharing with us, with the general public, what they expect would come out of the press conference tomorrow. We just had some callers commending the government on distributing the homes, and spoke about the design. What I like, and I agree with the caller, the homes now, because people would be living with their elderly family, or whether it be an extended family or their parents, and so now there's the first floor, so the elderly people, they don't have to climb the stairs to get to their living headquarters or anything like that. So that is really, really good. But there are some callers commending the government for delivering or allocating the houses to those who are in need. This matter of the distribution of the homes, that has caused a lot of public debate and a lot of public debate on social media as to the selection criteria for the homes. I saw some very disturbing comments on social media, which I will not repeat, but some very disturbing comments. One about, this person is a big palm, so they shouldn't get it because it's a big palm. And then this person, they're a big labor, they shouldn't get it. Or this person ain't from here. I mean, come on. So we supposed to do sleep on this side of the road? We have a caller. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Cornelius, quickly. The design on the bottom floor not only benefits the elderly, it also benefits the differently abled among us.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And those people who just want to tear down's sake, how come they ain't talking about that? That's what I'm saying, you know. In everything we got to inject politics in, all of us have to live here. That's why you see different things we just divided for no reason. I mean, you can't be happy for somebody because they get a house, they got to make I really don't understand it sometimes. It doesn't make any sense to me in a logical way, because guess what? That's going to take somebody out of, as we say, quote-unquote, poverty and put them in a more middle-class situation, which going to help them out in the long run. But that's just my little input.
Right. Carla, thank you so much for your contribution. I want to give, I want to say this, with this whole housing situation, as I said, I came across some very disturbing comments and posts on social media, which that is their view, that is their opinion. I respect their opinion. I don't necessarily agree with what they stated, but very disturbing. This issue with the housing, again, I too applaud the government for that, because in most cases there were some people that really were in need of a house of their own. But there was this long debate on social media about the selection criteria, and that this person should not have gotten, or this person should have gotten. And questions, what I would say, legitimate questions as to whether a selection criteria was met or whatever. But there was this comment on social media, or various comments on social media, that suggest that the houses should be for nationals first, or nationals only, and if you're not a born citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, you should not benefit from housing. And I wholeheartedly disagree. And I'll say why. You have some people that believe that because they were born in St. Kitts and Nevis, they are entitled to everything. While at the same time, they're lazy, they don't walk nowhere, they ain't willing to work, and they make no contribution whatsoever to national development and the development of the country, except that they have a passport for St. Kitts and Nevis. So explain to me, how is it that because you were born here, you should get that privilege? Or not even a privilege, but because you were born here, that should be the only selection criteria? But somebody else who came here 20, 30 years ago, they have been making their contribution, they have been paying their taxes, they have been doing their part in community development, social development. But just because they were not born here, they shouldn't get a house? We need to stop this foolishness, and we need to stop it now. We have St. Kitts and Nevis people who live in other countries. I have family in St. Martin. I have family in the USA, in Canada, all across the Caribbean. How would we feel if our brothers and sisters went to a neighboring island and they were treated how we are treating people here? We need to stop it, man. We need to stop it. This foolishness about, well, this person ain't from here and that person from here, so you should get it. Don't get me wrong. The selection criteria should be followed. But there are some non-nationals who live here. They make a real contribution. They work really hard. And just like me and you, they're trying to make an honest living. Law-abiding citizens. Doing their part in building our nation, St. Christopher and Nevis. But just because they weren't born here, they shouldn't get a house. They shouldn't get a job. They shouldn't work here. They shouldn't work there. but we gonna jump on a plane, go to America. We want the biggest job. We want the biggest house. I mean, we need to stop it, man. And I'm very, very passionate about this. I was born here, yes. But I wouldn't want to know that I go to some other country and I'm treated like how we are treating non-nationals. We need to stop it. It's not nice. We have a lot of Kittians and Nevisians residing overseas. They make their contribution to the country where they live and here in St. Kitts and Nevis. There are a number of St. Kitts and Nevis associations in a number of countries across the world. It is ridiculous. And we really need to put that nonsense down and end the conversation. It is not nice. Some of them, they work hard. They work tirelessly. They pay their taxes. They pay their rent. They pay their mortgage. Meanwhile, you refuse to pay. But because you're born here, you must get a house. Because you're quote-unquote navel string buried here, you must get a land. We need to stop it. We need to stop it, man. And then we ask ourselves, or we say, well, black people keep fighting down each other. Well, that is what we're doing right now. That is what we are doing right now. We are fighting down our own. For what? In the name of what? In the name of what? Man, we need to stop it. It ain't nice. It is not nice. If I go to a foreign country to live, I want a house. I want a piece of land. I want a good job. I'm pretty sure you have family who live in foreign countries. And because of them, you're able to eat. You're able to put down your head at night time. You're able to survive. Well, that is what they're doing. Because some of them come here and in the midst of, while making their contribution to the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, they support their family. We have a number of Kittitians and Nevisians residing outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. There are some of us here who don't work, and that is because where they live, they send money to help us. Lord Jesus, how you stop it, though, man? It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And I am very, very passionate about this. These people work hard. They make their contribution. All around the world. We keep talking about slavery. And black people fight down black people. And we're fighting down small businesses. Meanwhile, we're tearing down people because they get a house. Stop it! It's nonsense. I think I need to take this break and come back. And we'll continue Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. You guys stay and stay. We'll have the headline news. And we will be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
With the Win Headline News, I am Yulana Weeks, making the headlines nationally. NRP leader questions healthcare on Nevis, says sector will improve under NRP-led administration. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says the Constitution must be a tool of empowerment in Barbados, speaking on an amendment that speaks on the appointment of opposition members to the Senate. Internationally, a German report on the Catholic Church alleged that the ex-pope failed to act over 4 child sex abuse cases. In a letter released by the Vatican, the former pontiff asked for forgiveness for any grievous fault, but denied personal wrongdoing. The details and more straight ahead. Leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, has expressed concern over the state of healthcare on the island of Nevis. During the radio program Your Voice with the NRP on Vaughan Radio, Dr. Daniel Hodge spoke about healthcare on Nevis and the way forward with an NRP-led Nevis Island administration. The NRP leader said the Alexandra Hospital has been serving the people over the course of time, but pointed to the facility's lack of necessary equipment. She recalled traffic accidents happening on Nevis and the injured being transported to St. Kitts for an MRI, among other things. Dr. Daniel Hodge also addressed the need for equipment to assist persons with renal failure.
You also have a number of persons who would have died from
kidney failure, and we know that kidney failure is a relatively common occurrence. It is an area where we should really invest to ensure that our people can have access to the type of care that they need.
In 2012, the Minister of Health, the Honorable Hensley Daniel, negotiated for the procurement of a dialysis unit, which came at a cost of US $214,000. Dr. Daniel Hodge claims that the dialysis unit was never used.
Had we installed the dialysis machine when it was here in the first instance, by now we would have been so advanced with regards to the necessary treatment, the necessary networking, and having relationships with other hospitals, that it would have been much easier, I am certain, for those persons who have to deal with that issue.
Dr. Daniel Hodge therefore gave the assurance that under an NRP government, MRI equipment and dialysis treatment will be the first areas of focus. In addition, Dr. Daniel Hodge agreed with sentiments of the NRP candidate for Nevis 3, Mr. Rohan Isles, who has emphasized and spoke about the need for decentralizing healthcare on Nevis.
Why put everything in one area when we know, for example, whether it's Gingerland or St. James's, sometimes by the time the ambulance gets you over there to bring you back, you're losing critical, precious moments. And so there's certain medical services that we feel can be decentralized.
In speaking with WIN's news team, the NRP leader said that through more collaboration and sharing of ideas, the Medical University of the Americas on the island can benefit the community and the people of Nevis.
In regional news,
Prime Minister Mia Mottley says that the Constitution must be a tool of empowerment in Barbados, speaking on an amendment that speaks on the appointment of opposition members to the Senate. Barbados Today reports.
Government is doing the right thing in amending the 55-year-old Barbados Constitution to change the qualifications for membership in both houses of Parliament. That's according to Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who also insisted that her government was correcting a wrong by reducing the age for eligibility to sit in Parliament to 18 and giving a voice to the opposition by allowing them to recommend appointments to the Senate, even when they hold no seats in the House of Assembly. The Prime Minister made the comments on Tuesday as she addressed the lower house, which is void of opposition members, after her Barbados Labour Party won all 30 seats in the January 19 general election.
And I believe that if we want our young people to be agents of fairness, if we want our people in a society not to discriminate against each other, then the two principles that these constitutional amendments speak to are vital. Non-discrimination on the basis of age and inclusion on the basis of relevance and participation, because the Democratic Labour Party and other political parties, even though they did not win the election, received support from citizens of our nation and residents of our nation. And those citizens and residents have a right, in my view, in a restructured Parliament and in a restructured Barbados, to have their voices heard.
Prime Minister Mottley is adamant that despite its heavy defeat at the polls, the DLP, which is the country's main opposition party, has a role to play in government and governance.
The Democratic Labour Party is over 65 years old and has done well by this country during its life. I trust and pray that it will do well by this country in its future again. But what cannot happen is for us to ignore the reality that they have a role to play. If they choose not to play it, that is a matter for them. But I trust and pray that they will understand that this goes beyond the politics of the day and that this goes fundamentally to the strengthening of our democracy. I do not believe that any Prime Minister should have the right to choose all 5 members of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. However, so constructed. I do not believe that we should ignore the requirements for the level of consultation across divides that would want us to have services commissions and other elected persons in our Constitution to reflect that unity of purpose that we would want to see on affairs of a national state.
Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and leader of government business in the House of Assembly, Cynthia Bradshaw, said the Constitution Amendment Bill is to create opportunities for Barbadians. She maintained that the new legislation goes past giving a party the power to appoint 2 senators or allowing someone to serve in Parliament at the age of 18.
What we are really doing here is not uncharted waters, but rather it is really continuing what the Barbados Labour Party stands for, and certainly what we as a government stand for. And it simply isn't just about amending the Constitution just to make way for a young man to enter politics, or it's not simply about being able to give the opposition an opportunity to have a voice. I believe that this is very significant because it also speaks to the underlying philosophy of the Barbados Labour Party in being able to create opportunities for people to serve, to give people who ordinarily may not have a voice the opportunity to be heard. It allows us to be able to ensure that we preserve our democracy in a way that allows us, even though we have a 30-seat majority in this House, that we are able to still send a message that we are not pompous, we are not above ourselves, we don't feel that we know everything or that we can solve everything, but therefore that we are able to almost extend the olive branch to others to keep us on our toes, and certainly to be that other voice sometimes that we need to hear in a chamber such as this as we proceed to make policy in the interests of the people.
We now bring you these international reports.
Long before he was Pope, Joseph Ratzinger was Archbishop of Munich. During his time there, several priests were accused of sexually abusing young boys. It's claimed he knew what was happening and failed to stop it. Now, many years later, he denies any cover-up, but admits mistakes were made.
I have had great responsibilities in the Catholic Church. All the greater is my pain for the abuses and the errors that occurred in those different places during the time of my mandate.
It was this report, published last month, that laid out a series of claims against the Pope Emeritus. Not only was he accused of overlooking the alleged abuse, he denied attending a meeting to discuss the matter in 1980, a denial he now admits was wrong.
Amid the massive work of those days, an oversight occurred regarding my participation in the meeting. This error was not intentional, and I hope may be excused.
The issue of child sexual abuse has dogged the Catholic Church long before and long after Pope Benedict took office. He has talked of his profound shame and deep sorrow, making a heartfelt request for forgiveness. And he admits soon he will find himself before the final judge of his life. Tim Allman, BBC News.
The Gaza Strip is small in area, but it's teeming with ancient tales and artifacts that confirm its historical importance. But Israel's repeated attacks, as well as a lack of interest in archaeology here, have had a negative impact on tourism and antiquities in the Strip. Now, after years of delay, foreign restoration missions are returning, not just to rehabilitate these sites, but also to train dozens of Palestinian students in the field of restoration and archaeology.
For 4 years, we have been developing a program for the preservation and restoration of the site of St. Hilarion in parallel with its restorations. We have also developed a series of training courses.
The archaeological sites of Gaza are linked to its historical periods, from the Canaanite era through the Ottoman period and up to the beginning of the British colonization. The most famous of this era is the Pasha Palace, which dates back to the Mamluk period. During the British Mandate, it was a police station. The monastery of St. Hilarion, which dates back to the Byzantine time, is an archaeological hill on which a mosaic floor was found during the settlement of the sands. Another important archaeological site, which has been recently rehabilitated, is the Byzantine Church in Jabalia. It includes integrated architectural elements and contains colorful mosaic floors depicting the nature of life in Gaza. But according to French archaeologist René Alter, there are many difficulties facing the restoration process.
The complex context of Gaza has forced us to manufacture tools made in Gaza, for example to carve and cut stone.
Palestinians working in the archaeological fields hope there will be more research into other sites across Gaza.
The discovery of antiquities needs support and experts in the field who have a good amount of knowledge and ability to discover, restore and deal with antiquities, to preserve them.
The restoration of these archaeological sites paves the way for the rehabilitation of dozens of similar sites across the Gaza Strip. Those behind the project hope that this will bring attention to these ancient sites, despite Israel's siege on the region. Gaza has a history that dates back to thousands of years, and the evidence is still present today. Yumna Syed, Al Jazeera, Gaza.
On Monday afternoon, the leader of the opposition was approached by protesters. They called Sir Keir Starmer a traitor. They shouted about Julian Assange and about Jimmy Savile. The previous Monday, Boris Johnson said this in Parliament.
This leader of the opposition, a former director of public prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile.
This is false. Keir Starmer had no personal involvement in the decision not to prosecute Jimmy Savile. The question now is whether that statement risked Mr. Starmer's safety. No, says Minister Chris Philp.
I don't accept there is any link between the Prime Minister's reference to Keir Starmer's record as Director of Public Prosecutions and what happened last night, which was totally unacceptable.
The Prime Minister himself tweeted, "The behaviour directed at the Leader of the Opposition is absolutely disgraceful." And Number 10 has refuted any link whatsoever between that behaviour and the Prime Minister's words. But if that's Number 10, this is the Speaker of the House of Commons.
These sorts of comments only inflame opinions and generate disregard for the House, and it is not acceptable. Our words have consequences, and we should always be mindful of that fact.
Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has also commented, tweeting that any politician choosing to weaponise online conspiracy theories against opponents knows fine well that they risk stirring up the kind of hate and abuse that Keir Starmer experienced today. Number 10 refutes this categorisation, and to the government, this is part of a broader problem which affects politicians and journalists.
That mob yesterday, they were the same mob that surrounded Michael Gove outside his department. They were the same mob that attacked Nick Watt. These are people who do not discriminate. They just hate all of us because we represent the so-called establishment.
And while the protest and its causes are debated, so too is the broader issue of whether the original claim was acceptable. Dan Hodges of the Mail on Sunday picks this up, arguing that people are missing the point. He goes on, it's not that the crazy extremists heard what Boris was saying, then decided to copy him. It's that the Prime Minister of the UK heard what the crazy extremists were saying and decided to copy them. The Savile-Starmer claim has circulated on far-right websites, but after it was used in Parliament, ministers have defended its use. They argue if Labour holds Boris Johnson responsible for all lockdown parties at Number 10, even those he didn't attend, so Keir Starmer can be held responsible for what happened at the CPS when he was in charge. For example, this is the Cabinet Minister, Brandon Lewis.
When we are looking at the fact that somebody at the top of an organisation has responsibility for what happens in it, that's the point the Prime Minister is making. I think that is a fair and reasonable point.
No doubt leaders at times take responsibility for organisations they lead. But let's revisit what Boris Johnson said in Parliament. It was personal.
He spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile.
Next, here's another defence of the Prime Minister from Cabinet Minister Kwasi Kwarteng.
In the context of the accusations about leadership, the debate about accountability, it was a reasonable thing to bring up.
It's correct that in 2013, Keir Starmer did apologise for the shortcomings of the CPS in dealing with allegations against Jimmy Savile, but he didn't apologise for his personal conduct. And then here is a further defence of Mr Johnson from Minister Chris Philp again.
I'm saying it was capable of being misconstrued. I mean, it was the words on the face of it were correct, but it was capable of being misinterpreted.
It's not only misinterpretation, though. There's no evidence to support Boris Johnson's claim about Keir Starmer and Jimmy Savile. Mr Philp went on.
And that's why Boris Johnson was very clear and clarified exactly what he meant a couple of days later, which was the right thing to do.
It's right that Boris Johnson did seek to clarify what he'd said in this interview on Thursday.
I'm talking not about the leader of the opposition's personal record when he was DPP, and I totally understand that he had nothing to do personally with those decisions. I was making a point about his responsibility for the organisation as a whole.
A clarification, but not a retraction or an apology for the original claim. And the Tory MP Julian Smith now argues it's really important for our democracy and for Starmer's security that the false Savile slurs are withdrawn in full. That's what the opposition wants too.
It's Trumpian-style politics and legitimises the sort of political discourse that isn't what we like or deserve in this country. And I believe he should come to the House of Commons and apologise unreservedly for the slurs that he made last week.
This, though, is Chris Mason's assessment of the chances of seeing an apology on Tuesday.
Absolutely zero. It is not going to happen.
As well as that, a Downing Street source told the BBC he's got other stuff to get on with today. And as all sides traded political blows this week, there was a new arrival in Westminster. Last year, the Conservative MP David Amess was stabbed to death during a constituency surgery. Now Anna Firth has been sworn in as his replacement. And while Parliament welcomes its newest member, there are sharp differences over where to set the limits of political discourse.
You are listening to the headline news on WINNFM 98.9. Here's a recap of our top stories. NRP leader questions healthcare on Nevis, says the sector will improve under NRP-led administration. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says that the Constitution must be a tool of empowerment in Barbados, speaking on an amendment that speaks on the appointment of opposition members to the Senate. Internationally, a German report on the Catholic Church alleged that the ex-pope failed to act over 4 child sex abuse cases. In a letter released by the Vatican, the former pontiff asked for forgiveness for any grievous fault, but denied personal wrongdoing. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Bastia in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General Insurance, we will ensure that your property is properly covered with our private dwelling and contractors all-risk promotion. Visit or call us today and get affordable rates, premium financing arrangements from now until March 31st, 2022. We will properly cover fire, lightning, explosion, thunderbolt, bursting or overflowing of water tanks and apparatus pipes, burglary, theft or larceny, impact by road vehicle, riot, strike or malicious damage, hurricane, earthquake or volcanic eruption, flood, collapse due to subsidence of landslip, loss of rent, cost of temporary accommodation, and much more. So get your property properly covered at SL Horsford and Company Limited, local agents for Guardian General Insurance today. Special terms and conditions apply.
Call today at 869-465-9355 for further details.
Welcome back to Voices on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us today on Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon right here in Sugar City, St. Kitts, and of course right over on Queen City, Nevis. This is Voices for Wednesday, February 9, 2022. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, we're live on Facebook at WINNMedia SKN. We are also on YouTube. We're on Twitter. Check us out. If you want to participate in today's program, you can also send us a WhatsApp at 662-2204. That is 662-2204. And the phone lines are open, and we're going to head back to get some calls. The phone lines are really busy right now, but we'll see how many calls we can get in to continue this afternoon's discussion. Let's take our first call. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. Please call us back at 466-0989. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on Voices.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to make it clear that I do not object to anybody getting a home from the government, right? That's good, right? But what I'm concerned about is that the criteria for selection is followed. That is the crux of the matter. Whatever that criteria is, and I don't know what it is, but I know that what has happened in the past, and people well suspect is still happening, is that politics intervene. And that is not right. If politicians want to reward their constituencies or their constituents for their help, then do so not from government resources that everybody contribute to. Everybody pays Social Security and taxes. Do so from their own means. Okay? Government resources should not be used to promote party campaigns and candidate campaigns and make a candidate look good in the sense of directly giving their supporters government largesse. That should not happen. I dare anyone to say that that is an acceptable way of doing things in a progressive government. It just should not happen, right? And all I'm saying is that once the criteria is established and people meet the criteria, you may have trouble because a lot of different people may be on the same level, maybe get the same salary, have the same number of kids, the same number of family members, and those kinds of things. Okay? But political party support should not be one of the criteria. Bottom line. That's what I'm saying. Okay? And of course, I mean, if once you're living here, once you're a national here, or once you're living here, whether by way of citizenship or otherwise, of course, you pay taxes, of course you have a right to resources as well, but not over an equally qualified person, right? They have to find some way of distributing these so that it is fair across the board. Okay, that is the point I was making. And another point I was making, someone mentioned about the benefits of building the houses this way. Yes, that is true. They do facilitate disabled and so on. So do the housing schemes that have been done in the past. What I don't like about this particular one, though, is that if you look at the project, overall project, it looked like concrete boxes. And I think we could be more imaginative in 2022 and build things that has more character. Right? I don't see the character in these buildings. If you look, you realize that as you go through our territories in the region, right, everybody is developing. And everybody is going to have to find ways to distinguish themselves from the other islands. Okay? And one of the things that we can do that with One is infrastructure, for instance, make sure our infrastructure is better. The other way is to make sure our communities are better. And we don't build things that going to turn up looking like slums in 10 years down the road. Right? We build things with expansion in mind, preferably, yes, I know land is scarce, but preferably, I think most Christians prefer single dwelling bungalow as opposed to an apartment, okay? But I do realize the need. If you're just starting out, of course, an apartment, a small apartment would do. But ideally, everybody should be fixated on owning their own home with their little quarter acre or whatever square footage, backyard and space and that sort of thing. Okay? So like I said, my concern is that some more imagination should have gone into the project. If you're going to be spending that much money, then, do something that would be appealing to the eyes. I think I said they look more like concrete jails, and yes, people are probably happy that they have shelter over their head, but again, in 2022, it goes beyond just shelter. Before this, when we had like the hurricanes and those kinds of things, when we needed shelter, emergency, it was an emergency. So you'd have things like the half hog heads and smaller homes, etc., because you wanted quantity, not so much quality, but quantity, right? And I'm saying that we're beyond that now. We can think more in terms of quality as opposed to just sheer quantity, all right? That was my point. Okay, so let's distinguish ourselves from the other islands. I've seen low-income projects in Dominica. Those look like condo units. They're appealing. The design, how they're arranged, they're appealing. I don't like the looks of these, to be quite honest. I think government could have done a better job in coming up with better design, better ideas that suit the communal type living, that make a community out of the new housing areas, okay? And by all means, as far as possible, stick with the bungalows. I think most people prefer that type of living as opposed to the apartment type living. Okay then.
All right. Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution to this program. Yeah, we'll see the issue of, and I agree with you to the extent that a house should go to a person who qualifies. I mean, you did the application process, you were approved, whether it be by the board, the NHC, that is, sorry, or the bank, whatever. So, of course, a house should go to someone who is qualified. But this now is a very ticklish issue as it relates to the party support. Because if you have someone who is heavily affiliated with a political party getting a house, how do you justify that they got the house because of their support when in fact that they were 100% qualified for the house? A good paying job, have been employed for a number of years, have no debt to no other financial institution, and met all the other requirements that is listed in the criteria for a house. So it is very hard. One can just assume that, well, you got the house because your government is in power. But this does not say that there were people who qualified legitimately. We would assume, or we would say, well, boy, he get the house because it's his government or it's her government or whatever. That would be said along the lines. But how does one determine that that was the case? If the person really and truly qualified for the house, as I said, they met the criteria, they met all what the bank or what NHC was asking for. So yeah. Let's head back to the phone lines. You have a caller on the line. Oh, we have some calls trying to get in. Please call us back at 466-0989 and 762-0989. We're taking your calls right here on WINNFM 98.9. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Yes, good afternoon. How are you doing?
We really show all along soliloquy up to now. They say they feel good that the government gave out these houses to people. When you go, it's just that some people, they just can get politics out their system. Okay, the houses in Dominica look like condos. How much Dominicans got to pay to live in them? You understand? Just give jacket. They gave out the houses to people who needed them. As you said, there's no clear and direct way to know if, okay, the biggest time supporter get a house. If they qualify to get a house, why not give them? But then they're going to turn around in the same breath and say, oh, if Labour people get a house, they only give some token Labour people justice. You can't please people like that. It doesn't make any sense. Up until yet, they ain't even come and say, well, I think it's good that the government gave out to those houses to who qualify. That ain't coming in the conversation up until now. They're just finding all the faults. And that's what I call a bad faith argument. But I would like to touch on what you were saying before the break, Mr. Cornelius. I do agree that if you qualify for a house, even if you're not a non-national, you should get it. But it's not everything that non-national should be able to get if they're not born and in saying kids, especially things like the big controversy with what happened down at tourism. You want to tell me they had nobody here could have qualified to do that job? I worked for a hotel for nearly 10 years, Mr. Cornelius, and you would find that with locals, you got always call a glass ceiling. You can't pass a certain level because the company going to bring in somebody, and 99% of the time, you got to train that person to be your boss. You understand? When I was in the military, I was in Barbados on a course, and I made a joke and said, man, this course is so easy, boy. I could come up here and be an officer. And one of the Asian soldiers come to me and said, boy, before we get far in an officer position, I rather follow a dog. These is things, I mean, look at China. China is China first. A lot of things in China you can't go there and do because they will not allow you to do it unless you are a Chinese national. But we have Chinese nationals here running businesses which are basically putting a lot of mom and pop shops out of business. I've heard horror stories of people who went to St. Martin back in the day, and people in St. Martin called immigration on them, and they had to be hiding under boat or wherever because they were doing better than the locals here, and they get rid of them. They call the gendarme and all kind of thing. St. Thomas too. Even in the States, according to where you go and set up shop, you got to wait your turn because you can't get certain positions in front of an American. So we got to be, we can't look at things with rose-tinted glasses because where we might feel like, we got petitions out here and they're doing well. The vast majority of the time they got to fight and scrape and accept all kind of ignorant, insults and ignorant, but they don't complain about it. That's we don't really hear about it. Some people just walk out. Being in the country, I got to suck up whatever. I'll just tough it out until I get through. But a lot of the time, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, and I don't get me wrong, I do understand what you're saying, but I how does that really how has it helped these countries in the sense that while I understand, yes, you have to look out for your own first and make sure that your people are surviving, I cannot look past a non-national who is fully qualified over a national who does not meet the requirement. That is the point that I am making. It's not to say that trying to say, okay, well, non-nationals should get everything. I mean, they're people. Don't get me wrong. They're people. But the point that I'm trying to hammer right here is that I cannot look past a non-national who is fully qualified, making their contribution, paying their taxes on time, making, doing their part in nation building versus somebody who opposite, but just because they were born at JNF or Alexandra. I'm sorry. No.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Cornelius, you might have that high moral standard, but outside in the other places, then they don't think the same as you. I'm not saying it's right, but
I understand.
let me look at it in this way. Here in St. Kitts, we have a finite amount of jobs. Outside there, especially in the bigger islands, a lot of them come in the flood here, and we accept them. But to go to where they live at, we have more jobs, more opportunities. We as those called small island people, we can't really get through because they say they got to put the people first. And if anything left back, then we get it. I mean, I'm talking about experience. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I was like, oh, wait, but let's come by us, and we don't have that kind of issue with them. You understand? You remember back in when the CSME first started, it was a big hoopla. Who could go where and who could walk where, and it was crazy.
I can tell you this much, not to cut you off, sorry. I can tell you this much. The issue of the OECS free movement and essentially, generally speaking, migrant workers, it's a conversation that we need to have more often,
right?
And to get more data to support what we're saying. But I said that to say that I appreciate the contribution that migrant workers make, because there are some countries that, because of the contribution of non-nationals, they have a vibrant workforce. They have a vibrant sector. Look at agriculture. If you look at agriculture in St. Kitts and Nevis, and you look at the human resource of agriculture, majority of them are non-nationals. So, and that could be for a number of reasons. It could be that Kittitians and Nevisians do not want to work in that field, and they prefer to work in another field, which is their right. Don't get me wrong, not chastising anybody.
Right. You're right.
But at the same time,
that's one big reason.
yeah. But in the midst of all of this, we have to hear out, all sides of this argument, because going back to agriculture, it's a sector that we speak highly of, or it's a sector that we would come and say, hey, more needs to be done in this sector, and the government has to pump more resources into this sector, forgetting that the majority of people who work in this sector are non-nationals.
I agree with you on that point, because a lot of Kittitians, most of our predecessors, ancestors, they came out of the same sugar cane fields, and a lot of them decide, my children ain't gonna work in the cane field and in agriculture. So, yeah, that's the same thing was going on in America when they got the issue with the migrant workers. These jobs that Americans wouldn't really want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, caller, thank you.
Somebody else come through.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Let's take this other caller. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm giving thanks for life. And yourself?
Awesome. Not bad. Same here. Happy to be alive.
I tuned in a few minutes to the lunch break, before the lunch break, and I heard your sentiments on why our sisters and brothers from the Caribbean and probably wider field are having experienced a tough time in terms of our national pride. A lot of the blame, Mr. Cornelius, has to be laid at the feet of our leaders to begin with, because if our leaders were to set the example, I think that those type of sentiments that we have would have been at the lower tier of the spectrum, in terms of how we would see each other, our sisters and brothers from neighboring islands. And I might add that there are people who are from further afield. But coming out of the West Indian Federation, the breakup, and comments that was echoed by some leaders in the quote-unquote from the Big Four that has dominated into the sport, the cricket today, the Big Four. Are you familiar with the Big Four?
Honestly,
Why probably
no.
El Comedo Willett and others probably reached there, but
Okay.
you know.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know. Okay, all right. You know, like one from 10 leave north and things of that nature. That has permeated our national, local psyche. That you will hear it today, as opposed to looking at the regions as a one space that the CSME are trying to create. Those sentiments would have never been where we would have had in a conversation. It is like movement, like the Rastafarian movement and the conscious people who see our sisters and brothers from neighboring islands differently. And over the years, well, I make no qualm about it, because out of all of us that we are here still, our sisters and brothers from Haiti still getting this type of fight. Mind you, you know where I stand when it comes to coming into the border. You know, because we have borders. We have St. Kitts and Nevis has border from Antigua. As opposed to the Caribbean area is one space that we could move. And our Haitian brothers would have come straight into the seaport and present themselves, or your legitimation, you couldn't stay, and so forth. No. So we do have borders amongst these little neighboring islands, and you will hear that sentiment. And the blame has to be rested at the feet of our politicians, our leaders. That has not done enough. And we have seen it the other day when Mr. Mack, the Premier of Nevis, probably at his press briefing, his monthly press conference, spoke about repatriating our sisters and brothers from Haiti. So, how can we really get over these sentiments amongst us? It is a tough one. Because the voices that really beg to differ and say otherwise are being drowned even when we speak on radio about, Lord, have compassion. Remember the Bible says, I was sick and I was hungry and you don't feed me. At least from a biblical reference, let's see where at the government level we can help our sisters and brothers from Haiti. And so we landed in jobs, and I heard a national from Guyana say that he is here for near 50 years, and I welcome that. But would I hear a national from Haiti say the same thing? I doubt. I will hear nationals from every other Caribbean island say this, except the Haitians. Something is wrong. Something has to be wrong about it. And so that's just my take about it. You will always hear it, because no one is going to come from as far off, be it Antigua, and get a better opportunity over me. Not me per se, but over a Kittitian or a Nevision. Something will have to be wrong about it. We will get in our little space and say this is wrong. For instance, the lady, and I worked with her, not in person, but being the CEO of tourism and me being a taxi, we work. Miss Raquel Brown, she left, and our government saw fit. Yes, it looks good because we were promoting Caribbean integration. Saw fit to bring in someone who hails via, let me say via the Bahamas. So, in terms of integration, you can't blame the government for that, because he's from the Bahamas, he's a part of CARICOM. But in terms of our national sentiment, why couldn't the government, they will ask, nationals, why couldn't the government, aren't there any fit individuals in St. Kitts and Nevis, petitions and individuals in the diaspora can fill that space? We are not qualified enough. We who brag at 98 point something percent literacy rate, I know they are, but the political divide might be a factor that will deprive that national of such a post.
All right, then.
So, here's the debate. The debate can go on and on and on and on. That's my perspective on it. I have more to say, but I'll stop there for now.
And thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We'll take a break to give a shout out to our sponsor. And when we come back, we continue Voices right here on WINNFM 98.9. Stay tuned. You're listening to Voices on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today. We'll take this ad break and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Horswood's Building and Nevis Centers continues to make your lawn and gardening easy. Go to Horswood's Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on the entire lawn and garden equipment. Yes, for the months of February and March, Horswood's Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horswood's Building Center in St. Kitts and Nevis. Horswood's Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to Voices. Let's head back to the phone lines. We have some callers who are trying to get into the program to give their contribution. Please call us back at 466-0989 and 762-0989. This is Voices only on WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Connie. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, go right ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm here giving God thanks for another day, you know. I'm giving God thanks for you.
Thank you.
You have an uphill job trying to help people to be rational, you know. Everybody turning things to prove their point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are conflicted people, you know. When it comes to the us issue. Wait until the election bell ring in Nevis, you're going to see who is foreigner and who is local. Both parties will be trying to get them because they're able to swing the votes. The same thing in St. Kitts. No outcome is sure without the input of the foreigner. You're aware of that?
Mm-hmm. I am.
So we want them to vote in our party. And when they finish voting in our party, then they must go and sit down. You know, yesterday on another station, one of them addressed an issue straight to Andrew Huey. I was upset, you know. Oh, so how you qualify? You understand? They want to know what qualifies him to get a house. Nobody asks what qualifies him to prepare the news, to modernize the news system.
Yeah.
You understand?
I listen to you.
He makes his contribution. He could do like other people, you know, sit them in a corner. Or just go. We talk about, their contribution in agriculture. Do you know they pay Social Security?
Yeah.
Do you know that the houses are built, all of the government houses are built using funds from Social Security? They borrow all of the monies, both in St. Kitts and Nevis, to build these government houses. You know, we're becoming like the Americans. We're nationalistic when it suits us, and after that, and we Pan-Africanists when we're ready. Unfortunately for some of the foreigners, they're black. I don't know if they're not Africans too. We're not saying people just come in and get, I'm not supporting that. But I am saying, number one, they would have contributed to Social Security. Number two, they are more likely to pay their mortgages. Maybe we don't want to say so, but I'm saying it.
That's, boy.
Because the risk of them losing it is higher. A politician could always say, put him out. And then you go, oh, well, he's right because he ain't from here. But then our people waltz in the house and don't pay. Now, if they got most of, I heard one of them say how they skip all the foreigners over the locals. But how many foreigners got houses? Are you aware?
No, I'm not.
And I tell somebody, I want somebody to tell me in the same St. Peter area, under the same set of people government, how many foreigners got houses in St. Peter's and land?
You know, I can say this much. This has been a long issue going back and forth under all administrations.
Yeah, and people changing them out according to where the
not,
party is at in government.
Yeah,
in or they out.
Yeah, this is not something I have seen for the first time, and others would say the same thing.
I tell you, wait until the election bell ring, whether now or in 2025 you're going to hear. All of them going to be running around trying to get them to... Now let me get to this thing about our people and the position. Well, let me start. I am what? Caribbean. I am married to an Antiguan, my daughter married to a Bajan, my son married to a Guyanese, and I don't know who the rest will get. We say we have CARICOM, right? We say we have OECS. We say we are one. So if our people, because some of them, get so content, some of our people get so content in government position that they do not further qualify themselves. Some of them don't even take it upon themselves, the University of the West Indies, open campus here, to qualify themselves. They sit down and say, well, I'm born here, I must get that job. If you have your eyes, and that go for you too, you're working on this thing, set your eye and get yourself qualified. Oh, I make a good report or whatever. At the end of the day, I tell my children, papers talk. People first want to see what you have. Then they ask you other questions. I call upon a lot of the young people we have here. Some of them, from the time they leave high school, not a thing. Some of them, they get a degree, no training. And you expect to compete against people where education is free, tertiary education. And I call upon the government also too. Since people are forced to take loans, once you don't got 1 degree, you shouldn't have to go and pay for the rest. This is a manpower need. In 1994 we had a labor force survey. And we did an establishment survey. Now, in the establishment survey, companies were asked to give their projection as to what they want to do and the kind of skills they're looking for. The government did a similar thing in that they were asking people, it is called career path, right? You know the concept? You know the concept of career path?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. In that you say, you might be working, say you're working in the planning unit, but you would prefer in the next 5 years to be maybe in education, in something else. Effort should be made to move people, allow people to move along the career path that they desire, so they don't get stuck. And sometimes when you're stuck in a position, you don't seek to further qualify yourself. And we have got to understand in this country that you are in a wide open market. Wide open market. So whatever department you're working in the private sector, study the market. You know what bothers me in this country? You have these large supermarkets. Every time they need a manager, they bring in somebody from outside. And I ask the question, what it is our people don't have? So you go and do management, right? Do some further. Nowadays, you don't have to go nowhere online. Managing, how do I manage a large chain supermarket?
I think the issue is, and I think you touched on it earlier, people are going to get degrees and they come back and they spend 20, 30 years, and within that period they don't, do continuing education or training to advance themselves.
So when somebody, even sometimes a local, another young person comes to university with the latest information, the latest techniques, they must pass you because the country has to move. You're a taxi driver and you won't even learn the thing. I heard one day giving some misinformation to one of his guests, his tour. You got to move. You got to be on the net, check out how is it done in other country. Today, if you were sitting down in a government office and all you're content to is collect your pay, you're in for disappointment. Because often when I was working there, people would come from abroad, come into my office. Mrs. Henry, I am here to do this survey and that survey, and so. Now, if you had a built-in system where you teach how to conduct a survey and the whole kind of thing, but someone, I don't like maths. I don't like maths. I don't like to do this kind of work. But they're sitting down in there. Somebody, someday, is going to come and step over you. And you could ball as much as you're born here. The country has to move forward. So for all of you who are trying to make people feel bad, just take some of the energy and encourage your people to pay. NHC, the mortgage. The government must make sure that there's equity in the distribution. Because sometimes there's none. Maybe you got to be fair. People giving account to the party, according to the constituency, something, because NHC does not distribute houses. They do so on the recommendation of the party person, because I have no cases that a lot of it is done by the constituency executive, So if you're in Charlestown, instead of going to Mark or whoever, the person in the constituency group, don't give them a none, because they want to live St. Kitts. Don't get them a none, because his mother is a Pam. And so, the politician trying to please,
Yeah. I follow in you.
So sometimes they are the ones who create the problem. They are the ones, because some people have been applying for houses since Pam was in. Neither house nor land. And it must bother them really. When you would have been applying, sometimes you get no response, or you get a response in excess, and then you don't get any. It makes people bitter. So sometimes what people are saying is done out of frustration. You see where we're coming from? Because they would apply, then the family apply, and so. So there should be some kind of standard thing where, you know, if you apply, this is the criteria and this is what. Then it wouldn't be so chaotic. But for our people, if we say we're Pan-Africanist, we got to stick to it. You can't like the Haitian and then don't want the Jamaican. It don't work out. Or you don't want the Bahamian. All right then.
Right, thank you, caller, so much for your contribution to this program. We'll take a break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. Before we take that break, we want to take some more calls. So call us at 466-0989 and 7620989. The phone lines are open, and we want to hear from you. Let me just repeat the overseas numbers again, which for the UK, you can call us at 033-344-0065. If you are in the United States of America, call us at 718-285-6984. And the UK is 305-921-4619. Let's head back to the phone lines and we'll take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. Quickly. Pan-Africanism is supposed to be a two-way street. And what many people are saying, and Mr. Henry is right, a lot of people are frustrated because it is not really foreigners' an issue with getting the houses, it's the political leaders or whoever issuing them out. But we cannot be looking at things through rose-tinted glass, because what we extend ourselves here, a lot of petitions do not receive other places, and I could talk from experience. I've been in Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad, Grenada, Barbados, through the military, and I've come across people who give the shirt off their back, but when it comes to certain things within the country, that's a no-no. You don't deal ask for that because you're not from there. St. Kitts is only 68 square miles. I don't know the exact square size of Jamaica. But if you had to do a survey of how much Kittitians leave St. Kitts to go to Jamaica to work and vice versa, the scale don't be off balance. And we are a smaller population, a smaller landmass with finite jobs. So we have to have a balance. Yes, we got people here in St. Kitts, for whatever reason, they do not want to, as we say, work. But then you could say the same thing in Jamaica. We cannot be calling down with people, belittling our people at the behest of anybody else. Yeah, we have our internal problems, but we deal with them internally. I mean, I have nothing against foreigners. Some of my best friends are foreigners, but I judge a man by the quality of his how we deal with people, how we deal with people, not what degree he have. And you have a lot of people here in St. Kitts have degrees. I was in a hotel for 10 years, and a lot of the people who were passed over for management positions, who had masters, had bachelors, we had an incident, they brought in one individual with fraudulent qualifications, and they had to send them back. And they had the same person they passed over in the department, the local, they had to put them as the more or less in charge of the department until they bring in somebody else. They never considered that local for that leadership position. You could only hit management, you can't be an executive. I don't know if it's a contract signed behind closed doors where nobody else was, but in some of these hotels, not if all, you as a local cannot be an executive. Management is the top. That's the ceiling. You can't go past that. So, I mean, we need to look at this in a more nuanced way. It's not black and white. Some people talking because of, as Ms. Henry said, they're bitter because consecutive parties, because you're in a party follower, you ain't get through. But in other theaters, is a different story. Government and private sector is two different things. You got a lot of qualified people in the private sector, but they cannot reach a certain level because the policy of that private international corporation is to bring in their own people in executive positions. And that's true. There's nothing to wash off that. I mean, Labour Department can't do nothing about that. That's beyond out of our hands. So it has to be a more nuanced conversation. Pan-Africanism is supposed to be a two-way street. One hand wash the other. Not we here in St. Kitts with small amount of jobs, opening the arms to everybody, and we can't go where they come from and prosper the same way. That's just my little input.
And thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. You're listening to Voices right here on WINN-FM 98.9. It is 18 minutes past the hour right here in our studios. Let me say thank you guys so much for joining us here on Voices. And we're going to head back to the phone lines when we take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
Good. It could be better. There's always room for improvement.
Definitely.
I have some concerning the Social Security, the report on the Social Security issue that I have seen. Like it's saying that our Social Security scheme, like it might be going into a tailspin. And if they don't take drastic measure to increase the generating income, that means you have to take more from the employees and employer, and they're going home with less. And there's really great concern of the things that are climbing on the shelf, the cost of living, the costing of the system. Those who have produced our product are going up, and you're not in a position to increase wage or salary. So I like to hear some things on those, and people who are being paid without performing any duties, doing anything. They're $500 per week or per month as government probably giving. What are they going to do with that? And the other thing, Social Security investment in, like the Port Authority, paying money for those staff and so on, and Beacon Heights, of which they have investment in, and no one could drive up to Shorey site. Sometimes if you walk into a supermarket and you had no intention of buying, but when you see, you decide you're going to buy, but you make Beacon Heights a gated area, and that's Social Security investment. So I like to hear some of those things and those to see what direction we are going.
Right.
In terms of our economy, because we're going to have some real turbulence time coming. Those who manage our economy and those who control the government, who control those areas, and private sector, because people will be buying less. Your dollar now will be reduced to 75 cents based on the cost of goods on the shelf. So we have to prepare and brace ourselves for these matters that are ahead of us. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be in trial time. And people have to pay their Social Security when they deduct it from the employee. And people who get in small wages and so on, small weekly wage, they're going to have to make some contributions. So even though you might get in $300 per week, you're going to probably get less because you have to pay a higher part of Social Security to maintain those who are getting Social Security now until yours come, and they have to increase the age. So I've been running a little bit fast because your time factor is not as good as it would have been when you were earlier up in the program. Thank you very much for hosting the program, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a pleasure always listening. Everything that everyone have to say, nothing is foolish. There's some sense out of something that we might miss for each other.
Right.
And do have a great day. Thank you very much.
You too. Have a fantastic day. And thank you so much, as always, for your contribution to this program and to everyone else who called over the last 2 hours. But we're winding down. We have just a few minutes left before we end today's edition of Voices. Let me just say thank you guys so much for your contribution to this program. Without you, it would not have been possible. We're heading back to the phone lines and we're going to take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon. I got a position, and this is my position. First, I'm going to tell you, in agriculture, maybe in Nevis, most of the workers are foreigners. Nothing thinking. I'm a farmer. Now you see all this debate we're kicking up on nationals from abroad and local. Is one thing that is going to bond us as a people. And it is our bloodline. It is the African heritage. We're almost in the middle of the month, and no mention is made of that. It's telling me that we're a people without real direction. We are who we are, and the only time we ever get to highlight us as a people outside of slave children is this time. The narrative
I disagree.
that you're now conducting will continue. It will continue because we have no common bond. We are arguing. It works for the establishment. We are not grounded in anything on a common issue and goals actually as where we really would like to go. I can give you something that they give us. They told you that you cannot die from corona. You have a 99% chance. Yet they tell you you need to take a drug that nobody knows how to work. They tell you a constant wearing of the mask would give you hypercapnia. Yet they tell you you must wear the mask. And I listen to the CMO talking about the resenting them and all the symptoms is the mask. We can farm. We don't know where we're going because we have no knowledge of that. Have a good day, my brother.
Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution. I disagree with your sentiment about this is the only time we have to highlight. I think you were saying Black history or African heritage. The celebration of Black history and our heritage, our culture, can be done whenever we want to do it, and we don't have to narrow it down to just remembering that we are Black in February. It's more of an Americanized thing that they acknowledge Black History Month in February. But we should do our part in bringing awareness and celebrating Black history and our African heritage. We would often say that no mention is made of this or no mention is made of that, but we have our part to play. And so I encourage each and every one of you, if we have to be the change that we want to see. So the celebration or the observance of Black history and our African heritage and our culture doesn't have to be tied to the month of February. This is something that we should do on a regular basis. This is something that we should teach to our children, whether in school, at home, wherever the case may be. And that's my take. Let's head back to the phone lines. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm listening to the program today, and you have compelled me to call in after hearing what you've just said. This is Journey.
That's good. Yeah, thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, it's a kicking feeling to hear you say what you just said, and I just called to let you know that my heart almost flies through my throat just now when you said what you just said. And yes, we have to make the change. The change have to come from within us, because, Devon, those who divide us have no interest in our unity. Our unity will cripple the misery that they gave us. It is a misery, Devon, because we, as long as we are plugged into their narrative, we are giving our energy to them. You see, Devon, we as a Black people, we have no shots to fire. That's a fact. They have used intimidation. I don't know if you are aware of what is happening on the continent of Africa today, specifically in Mali, there's some coup that is taking place right now, and we're referring to the coups as good coup because in the overtake of these coups, the presidents, the former presidents are still alive. Whereas in the past, when we have had coup, and we know whose hand were behind those coups in the past, those presidents lost their lives. Now, just in the past year and a half, we have lost over 5 African presidents in the past year and a half. 5 presidents, Devon. Now, can you imagine if this was done to any European president? We have lost even close to us here in Jovenel Moïse in Haiti. So you see, Devon, we have to wake up. Our misery can only be eliminated by our unity. We are so unaware of our knowledge of self. Devon, when the book say, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. We are creators. Those who conquer us gave us God in the masculine gender of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We are the creators, Devon. That masculine creator that they gave us in the Bible, well, forget about that. Because the creator is a duality between male and female. Look at nature, Devon. And you ask yourself the question that everything else that was created first, the animals, the birds, the fish, they were created in pairs of male and female. But the colonizers gave us the thing that the woman was taken from the rib of a woman. That is rubbish. That is rubbish. We create ourselves, and our power that we had to do that was broken from us because we have strayed from our ancestors, the firstborn. We are creators, Devon. This thing about the male, Father and Son and the Holy Ghost, throw that out the window. Throw it out. And raise your level of conscious thinking. Because we are the Fahrenheit. We are creators. A man and a man cannot create within themselves. It's a duality between male and female. And the energy that says, let there be light, came from us. We are the creators, Devon. But they gave us God. And the God they gave us is in their image.
Right.
To have us where they have us today. Worshipping them for killing us. Thank you for hearing me, Devon.
And thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We are out of time. That's all the time we have for today's edition of Voices. I want to say a special thank you to every single one of you for your contribution and participation in today's program. Your contribution is noted and appreciated. And without you, this show would not have been possible. Thank you so much for your participation. And until next time, you guys stay safe and continue to do what you're doing to protect yourself. And in the midst of all of what's happening, give thanks for life. And when you wake up in the morning, just say thank you. Until next time, you guys stay safe. And you are listening to another edition of Voices right here on WINN-FM 98.9. I've been your host, Devon Cornelius. You guys take care.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
Supermarket shoppers understand.